Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. Welcome back, and if you're new here, welcome. This quilt behind me was absolutely fake pieced. This sewing technique is not new at all. Typically, this technique you'll see on pillows, zipper pouches, but you know I couldn't help myself. I had to take it to the next level and make a quilt using this faux piecing technique. This quilt only took me a few hours to put together. It's that fast. Enough talking already. Let's get busy fake piecing our quilt together. The first step in this process is to find your center focal square, which I've chosen nautical theme today, and mine are little whales. How cute are they, right? You can start with any size square that you would like. You can start way larger or even tinier than this. For today's demonstration, I have chose 3.5-inch square to start with. You will need 2 identical cut squares in size to begin with. Take these 2 squares and put them right sides together. The next step is to take it to your sewing machine and sew a 1/4-inch seam allowance around the entire block. You're going to enclose everything in. Once you've sewn everything all the way around, you're going to put 2 marks on this block. Make sure you don't make the mistake and mark your focal point. I did that on an earlier mock-up and it didn't go well because then I had a plain center when really I wanted a more detailed center. Corner to corner. Now I use a tiny seam ripper to help me get these 2 pieces apart. All you're going to do is go toward the center a little bit, try to grab just a few threads so that you can separate these 2 fabrics. I'm just pinching that gray fabric so that I can see that line totally right there. I'm just going to give myself a little head start. Be careful you don't totally rip your fabric up though. I just went very lightly. And then you'll just grab some tiny sharp scissors, and from that center point you are going to just follow along the line. Go all the way to the corner without snipping the threads. You can set the seams on the outside there and then lift up one of the flaps. Lift another flap and press over. How cute is that? Our little whale. Oh my word, he's so cute. Okay, the next thing is to clean up this square. Don't worry about the points on this particular quilt pattern. Pretend like you know nothing about points. If you don't forget all you know about points, then you'll be frustrated in this project, trust me. So there we have our cute little whales and we have our square. If you don't square up your squares when you're done, you are going to end up wonky. So that's a really good tip here. The next thing I want to add, since I want to do blue-gray sort of with pops of red, I'm going to choose a blue fabric next. I'm simply going to just cut around this square. I could just lay this ruler down because this size right here is 4 1/4. I'm choosing to do it this way. So that way, this is all ready to sew at the sewing machine with right sides together. So you can see here, these are right sides together. You can pin if you'd like. I didn't. As it gets larger, you may want to pin though. You don't want to put your marks ahead of time on the fabric before you sew it around, because sometimes your corners will end up in different spots, slightly off, and you don't want your line to be off in any way. So after you sew around, that's when you mark it. Go to the side that's not been sewn on, the non-whale side, and we're going to sew 1/4 inch all the way around again, encasing everything. Grab your ruler again, and you're going to mark from corner of the thread there to corner. I'm just using a simple pencil. You can use any marking tool that you have though. I have the heat erasable pen too. You can use that, use whatever you have. So there's my X. Because I have arthritis, it's really hard for me to separate these 2 fabrics, believe it or not. So that's why I opt to use this tiny seam ripper where I just go in just a tiny bit And then once I know they're separated, I can feel it from the back that they're separated. Then I just make a tiny slice to get me started through a few threads. Just grab my little sharp scissors. As this gets bigger too, you can use your regular scissors. You don't have to use these tiny ones. Set the seam, flip up. I know, right? That is just so darling and so easy to do. Square up this block. I can use the gray seam and the line on my ruler to measure up to make sure that it's straight. And over here too, I can on the side. The next color I added was some of this gray with this filigree work in it, which I thought was super cute. Look at the contrast there. I just love how that looks. This block ended up about 6 3/4 inches. I think it's about time we incorporate a little bit of red into this quilt. I love how that red just pops right off of that block. You'll definitely need to get out your larger, longer ruler by this point. This block is a little over 11.5 inches square. This block now measures about 15 3/4 inches square. And as you can see, I had to put it up on my design board because it was getting too big for my table. Now we're at 21 1/4 inches square on this block. There is one tip that I would like to give you at this point in the process. It's okay if you have to cut more off, trim more off to make the area as square as possible. You can see here that a lot of my points have been cut off, a little bit more substantially than at the beginning. And that's okay. No one is going to notice because all of your points in the entire quilt will be cut off. So I just wanted to make note of that. Oh yeah, I'll be the guinea pig and try out the directional print for you all so you can see what it looks like. And since this is a square quilt, it doesn't really matter to me. We are at about 29 1/4 inches on this quilt so far. This would make a nice big throw pillow for your floor, like for the kids and stuff. I don't know if you wanted to stop right here anyways, which I definitely do not want to stop just yet. I knew that I would hit this point sooner or later because now I require yardage for the rest of this quilt. So I just cut and sewed 2 pieces together of the same fabric so that I would have one piece, so to speak, because I still wanted to maintain the technique throughout this entire quilt. This just gives you an extra option if needed. When you get to this stage, when the fabric is really big, you're going to have to add 2 rulers together to make your diagonal mark from the corner seam to the other corner seam. Wow, this quilt got big fast just in this application. So now we're at 41 inches square and it's looking pretty big now. I'm thinking one more time ought to give us a really nice baby quilt. Do what you have to do. You may need to get down on the floor for this last bit. I know I did. Just lay out your rulers and mark it just like normal. Now in this darker blue, I probably will have to use a marker of some sort that I can see so I can actually cut on the line. I want you to take note the seam that's right here. One tip I want to give you is not to put it directly in the center of any one side. We want it offset so it doesn't interfere when we do go to cut that line. So before trimming, I have 57 inches square. I think I'm going to add a border. Typically, I'm not easily impressed, but this quilt, faux piecing it, I'm impressed. It ends up at 61 inches square. Oh my word. That is a nice size quilt. Take a look at your screen right now. I've hand-picked some special videos just for you if you enjoyed today's tutorial. Click on one of them, and I'll see you in the next video. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.